In this session 7, we're going to be talking about the letting go of our egos to connect to our soul by letting go of control, or the need to control. The first step in this journey is moving towards your purer self, away from the physical into more of a spiritual connectedness to God, which in essence is connection to universal truth and a higher level of consciousness. I remember when I started to embark on my personal journey to self-empowerment and a higher level of consciousness, I entered into various programs where I was able to study metaphysical topics and themes. I was drawn to the work of many masters who themselves had mastered the practice of mindfulness. I decided to take the journey of connecting to a deep spiritual practice that ultimately led me to connecting to my faith and naturally feelings of inner safety that's very difficult to explain. This connection gave me a sense of freedom that I'd never really known before. The last time I felt this was before I was 12 years old. I grew up essentially in a home where my father was a deeply spiritual person. So my early childhood was hugely about connecting to my faith as I watched my father in his daily practice of prayers. When he was killed, I turned away from God and I started to question God for the first time. I was very angry that God had taken my dad in such a horrific way at the age of 12. I lost a connection that at the time I didn't realize was probably the most important connection I would have ever known. It was the practice that kept my father alive and brought meaning to his life. It's what clearly inspired him all those years. As I became older, I started family and continued through my life the sole purpose of being a mom and homemaker, which was perfect at the time. And as my kids got older, my children became more independent, I began to feel a sense of emptiness. Caroline Myss refers to this feeling as the dark night of the soul. My relationships were taking a dive, and at the same time our family was struck by traumas of suicide and the loss of my nephew at the age of 17 years old to illness. I started to question myself, my reality, and actually my existence. I felt a desperate sense of being out of control. I soon realized I had no control over anything, or not many, let's say. At the same time, I started to search for answers. I started a journey towards learning metaphysics and at that time embarked on a practice of daily prayer and slowly began to feel more connected. I began to feel more relaxed and less anxious. The more I dove into my spiritual practice, the better I felt. It was almost as though I'd connected with a deeper appreciation towards everything, especially myself and those around me. And as I entered into this daily meditative practice of prayer, my faith grew stronger and I was able to let go and let God. I no longer felt the need to be in control of every outcome, even in the most difficult circumstances. And these difficulties still come towards me. It's not that they go away, it's just that my attitude towards these difficult circumstances have changed. I have a deeper inner trust and knowing that everything is for a good reason. There's an opportunity on the other side that I may not be noticing at the time through my blindness, by the challenge or difficulty, but sooner or later the light switches on and suddenly I'm faced with an opportunity that comes towards me as a result of that difficult incident. The outcome was a deep sense of humility. I became naturally more humble and a lot less arrogant. This movement alone was extremely powerful and freeing. I also noticed a shift in my relationships to my husband, children, friends and colleagues. It took the pressure off me and ultimately I was freeing my children. I learned very quickly that my kids were following my example. And this was important and that's why I needed to do this work. The idea was to connect to your core through a daily practice of meditation or whatever resonates with you in whichever way. It might just be the practice of sitting in nature and appreciating the bigness of everything. Setting up a relationship with something bigger than you, an unseen force that will connect you automatically to your soul. We won't be able to avoid roller coasters, but if we have this connection to our soul and we have faith, there's a bigger picture. Navigating of the roller coaster becomes smoother and naturally and more in flow. It becomes a creative experience as opposed to a feeling of despair. So here's an exercise. Take your journal and make a note of the practice that brings you closer to something bigger, something that makes meaning for you. Make a commitment to embark on this practice daily. It may even be a daily practice or ritual, writing in a gratitude diary, Make these notes in your journal. Go into a garden. Look into nature more deeply. Look around you and feel what it feels like to be grateful. And if you even make a note every day of just one or two things that you're grateful for, suddenly you will start to see a shift in you and something that connects deeper to this universe and to something that's much bigger than you. Thank you.